Welcome to the Compendium Podcast, hosted by Leadership Books. In just moments, our host, Michael Stickler, will be joining us with a very special guest. Before we get started, I would like to introduce you to Michael. He's a 4-time best-selling author, philanthropist, publisher, and highly sought-after conference speaker. His passion is to see life-changing books find their audience. Books that will change your life, change your business, and change your soul. And he specializes in helping authors and business owners achieve publishing success. Won't you please welcome Michael Stickler?
Well, thanks, Ron, for the great introduction. Yes, I'm Mike Stickler, and this is the Compendium Podcast. Here on the Compendium Podcast, we invite great authors to share a little bit about their experience, their journey as authors, and what they have, the message they have to share with the world. And today we have Dave Meine. What a great guy. I just in the pre-interview, as we were talking before this, we just really had a great conversation. David is a cancer survivor. He's a competitive road bike cyclist. He is a dedicated pickleball athlete. He's also experienced a career entrepreneur, and sometimes we call ourselves serial entrepreneurs, and has a long list of successful launches under his belt. When he's not out winning athletic medals and holding motivational talks or advising business boards, David's dedicated his time to furthering the mission of he and Carla, that's his wife, and they are most passionate about eating to live, which is what his book is all about. Over the past 2 decades, David's work, his books, and his life have been a remarkable journey and have inspired thousands of people to transform their health in a similar way. David, welcome to the Compendium Podcast.
Thank you so very much. And maybe if you don't mind, I'll just help you with my last name a little bit. It's David Meine.
I'm sorry, David Meine.
No problem.
I'm sure I'm not the first one to say that.
No.
Meine. So thank you very much, David. Now, tell us a little bit about your journey with your book, and just give us the idea. How did you get here, and what made you write the book? Maybe some of the big ideas.
In March of 2020, my wife and I got locked down from COVID. And in 2020, I was 63 years old, and really from 16, 15 years old, I was one sick kid. Every time I'd eat, it seems I'd be curled up in a ball in pain or pumping down Pepto-Bismol or Tums or Rolaids. Got in my 20s and got diagnosed with colitis, which is a serious, bowel movement problem. And then I got diagnosed with Crohn's, which was all tied into my digestive issues. And then 1999, I got my diagnosis for peripheral neuropathy, which is just a very painful, feet on fire. So wearing shoes is miserable, sleeping at night with a sheet on my feet, I couldn't do it. And then I got the big one, I got the cancer, and it was awful. When I got scoped, I had 3 tumors embedded in the wall. Went into surgery the very next day. Luckily, it hadn't gone through the wall, and went through recovery. And I had just 3 months before that had my back fused, S1, L5, L4.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I had 2 surgeries, big major surgeries in 4 months, and had the whole issue. I struggle with anesthesia, brain fog. And then 6 months later, went in, thought everything was clean, good. They found 14 tumors. So in 6 months, grew 14 more tumors, had another surgery. Long story short, ended up with 3 surgeries, 21 tumors, 2 rounds of chemo. Finished that in 2017, had gotten severe arthritis, in my right knee, couldn't even go up and down stairs, couldn't open and close my left hand. And then got to 2018, decided to do some stem cells in my right knee. And when I was meeting with Dr. Khan said, I noticed in your chart, you're taking 2,400 milligrams of Advil every day. I said, yeah, I'm in so much pain. I'm also on Lyrica. I'm also, which is a major pain drug for my peripheral neuropathy. I'm on Cymbalta, I'm on the duloxetine, I'm on Lortab, oxycodone. I'm dealing with all this stuff. And he says, well, you got to be off of that for 30 days to do stem cells. And I'm like, well, why? And he says, it will disrupt the stem cells. And I said, you're kidding me. And so I had to be off of that for 5 months. And I said, there's no way I can do it. He says, well, if you want to get this knee to where you can go up and down stairs and kneel and all the kind of stuff, you're going to have to give up. I said, I don't know if I can do it, but I'll try it. So I did it for 30 days, had that first stem cell treatment. A month later, I said, okay, so at the end of 3 more months, I've been off of for 2 months. I'm miserable. Can I go back on NSAIDs? And he says, absolutely not. I would recommend you never do it again. And he never gave me any advice why or how or what I was going to do. All I knew was I wasn't going to take NSAIDs, and I didn't know how I was going to survive. My knee started feeling better. Then in July, I watched a podcast from an international known doctor that had a restorative medicine practice. And he, in the podcast, said the exact same thing. But the difference is he had a plan and said in that podcast that more than likely I had really bad inflammation.
Right.
And what's interesting is the NSAIDs were creating a vicious cycle. And so then I started finding out that I had a compromised immune system because of the NSAIDs, because of this lifestyle of sugar and gluten and all the stuff. So I started following him, started doing what he said. And I can remember to this day, Mike, on October 18, 2018, I went from an 8 and 10 every day without the NSAIDs, still on all the medications. I dropped to a 4. And just by changing my diet.
Wow.
And my wife and I were astounded. And then we started this journey to when in March of 2020, when I started writing this book, Eating to Live, Unlocking the Leaky Gut Code, I started this path. And it's really the ahas that we'll kind of talk about is it really is a step here and a piece of knowledge here and doing this and adding, and it's this step by step by step. And so in March of 2020, we started connecting all these dots in my health. I had been diagnosed in 1999 with ADHD, and the food, sugar, and all the stuff that I was doing wrong was making that worse. And so I get to 2020, started writing the book and started having more ahas. And then when we published the book, in 2020, in October of 2020, I got off my last medication. So now I'm medicine free, over the counter medicine free. I've lost 30 pounds. I'm at 177, which is what I weighed in high school. Right. So your body kind of right sizes, but I wasn't trying to lose weight. I was just getting healthy. And to make a long story short, we made some lifestyle changes, nutrition changes, and here I am today. I'm a walking miracle.
Yeah, David, that is a great story. So in your book, you shared some of the things you've learned. So you didn't have to the reader doesn't have to go around and find a little piece here and a little piece there.
Right.
Like you said. So tell us about that. What's in the book that's going to help the reader experience the success you have?
The key in the first 14 chapters, we wrote it in a narrative in a form so that people could really relate. And there's something in there they're going to say, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with this. Then the second part of the book is how we help them potentially find a solution to their problem, right? So, and what's interesting, the very first chapter, I owned a previous company called Ideal Shape, and we helped tens of thousands of people lose weight. And we thought we were helping them get healthy, and we really weren't. But this go around, the very first chapter I write is on getting a really strong why. So let me give you a little secret that I found out as in business and found out with my health journey. My wife and I fortunately blended 2 families together 20 years ago. I had 3 girls and a boy, and my wife had 3 boys. We were led together and got married. And one of the things, my strongest why, and then I have all these little whys underneath it, but my strongest why is at 95 years old, I want to celebrate my 50th anniversary with this amazing 5'9", blonde hair, blue eye athlete, my partner in life. And I want to have the mental capacity. I want to be lucid. I want to be able to take her on the dance floor. I want to be able to dance with her, which means I get to be with all my grandkids, my great grandkids,
Right.
and we're going to have this amazing event. And I want to be healthy. I don't want to live like I lived, from 2020 and back. I want to live with the amazing health, the mental capacity I have now. And so that first chapter, as I teach people how to come up with a tremendous why, so that as they're learning and doing this step by step, when something hits them, they don't just give up.
Yeah.
Right? They can go to that why and say, this is how, what, and why. And with that strong why, this is what I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. And they can stick with it. And then there's all these little life changes, like get off NSAIDs. The foundation to health is sleep. And so if people aren't getting quality 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, their brain will not be able to shrink because there's no lymph node system in the brains like the rest of the body is to move the toxins out. So with all my inflammation and all the problems I had and my inability to sleep well, my brain wasn't shrinking and getting the toxins out. So I had a toxic brain, toxic body. So when I got my sleep, my nutrition, my strong why, just all of these steps kept leading over a 3-year period. I just kept getting better and healthier and happier. It was amazing.
That idea of the strong why, as many of the listeners know about me, I've shared pretty readily about having a heart attack in 2012. And my strong why was looking at my wife's very concerned face as they were wheeling me into the hospital.
Yep.
And the fear that she had on her face. And I thought to myself, I will never let her experience that kind of fear about me again. And it was a life changer. That why became the reason to make the differences in my life. That is amazing. That's an amazing story, David. And so when writing the book, tell me, what did you discover in the whole process of being an author?
So this is my 4th book that I've written. This is the most in-depth and hardest book. I hired a editor, ghostwriter, as I was writing the book, a good friend, and that I had met at church and got to know over the years. And so she would I'd write, and she'd take right off the bat a third of what I wrote and get rid of it because it was too much detail or too much whatever. And she kept kind of guiding me. And so probably 40% of what I wrote didn't make it in the book. And the book is still a good sized book, right? And what's funny is just things that didn't make it in the book, right? That I wish that they had, but it was just writing is just such is such a great journey. And it's, you have all this self introspection.
Sure.
And it just makes you think about even more and be strongly, my commitment to become healthier even got stronger because I knew people would read the book and I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I didn't want to say, do this and then not do it myself. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. Yeah, no. And there's so many books that are written out there where the author is not actually practicing what he or she are actually telling the authors to do. And so whether it's in the finance world, they're not actually practicing it, or in their business, it's not there. It's a concept, it's an idea. And so one of the things that when you're sharing about health and how to live, you've got to be able to walk it out, and you got to know why you're walking it out. And so that's great, David. So what are you doing nowadays? What's going on? You've got this book completed. What goes into the future for you?
So I my wife and I built an e-learning course. With my wife getting certified as a functional nutrition counselor, we built out a complete program, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Functional nutrition, the couple of things I just want to share with that very quickly. Number one, there's not a one size that fits all.
Sure.
And number two, what my wife does is she helps people, and our book will help people clear the muddy waters. So you'll get to a point, and we created an app on iOS for iPhone and Android where people can log the food. We don't care about the metrics. We don't care about the macros or the micros. We just care about the food, your pain, your bowel movement. You actually look at your bowel movements and rate them from a 1 to 7, from diarrhea to constipation, but you want to be a 4, and exercise. And then we tie that all together to help people find the foods and beverages that are making them sick and causing pain. And so really the future for us is we have some nutritional supplements, but we really have a plan and a way to help people experience what I have experienced and what my wife experienced. Can I share a funny little quick story with you?
Of course.
So when my wife was going through and getting her degree, she had me and committed me to do journaling. And she had me do a food, mood, poop journal. Okay. And so I was like, I don't want to do that. She says, David, in the past, you thought having a bowel movement every 3 to 4 days was normal. That wasn't normal. You're supposed to have one every single day, and it's supposed to be a certain way. And so I started journaling, and I had started getting sugar out, and I'm gluten insensitive. And so I had started down this path, and I was at one point 80-20 and then 90-10, but it just wasn't working. I had to be all in. And so I'm an avid fly fisherman. I was coming back from a fly fishing trip about an hour away from our house, driving through Heber, Utah, and I stopped at a Dairy King and got my favorite shake. I hadn't had one for a long time because I was getting healthy, and I got my very favorite, now I'm struggling with, German chocolate.
Right.
So then I was super sick, and I had diarrhea, and I was in pain, and I'm like, Carla, I don't know what's wrong. I don't feel good. So she goes to the journal, finds because I promised her I'd write down everything, and finds 2 days earlier this German chocolate shake I'd had, and said, David, you da-da-da-da-da. And I go, you're right. I have not ever had, that's been 2 years, I've never had gotten a German chocolate shake again. In fact, I don't do sugar, very little tiny sugar. I don't do gluten anymore. And, but it was just funny that by journaling, and
Sure.
she could go back and hold me accountable, because this is the problem with functional nutrition and the problem with their health. We don't remember what we ate and drank 2 days ago.
That's right.
And all of a sudden we don't feel good, or we've got heartburn or gas, or we've got whatever. And so that's why we built a simple app for people to do on their phone, or a paper journal they can, so they can track. And then we take out certain things out of their diet, and then they add them back one at a time. And then they'll see, do I got pain? Has my bowel movements changed? And they'll know if they've got to remove that from their overall diet and health.
Right. What an excellent idea. In my own journey, I've experienced a couple of very similar stories. And so the book is Eating to Live. You can get a copy of it right here, or maybe it's right here, right above it, or right below. But you can get a copy right just by clicking. David, what an incredible story. I want to thank you for being with us and sharing some of your insight. I know I'm going to get a copy and make it part of my life and my lifestyle change. Folks, thank you for David again. Thank you. And folks, if you would like to join us again on the next Compendium Podcast, where we are inviting authors from around the world who have great stories to tell and some things that will help you change your life, come and join us. We air every Monday and every Wednesday, and we'd love to have you come and join us and make you a regular guest of our show. Until next time, may God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you for joining us for today's broadcast. I do hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And be sure to visit us online at leadershipbooks.store. There you'll find the works of some of the finest thought leaders today. And be sure to tune in here each week to gain even deeper insights from one of those leaders on the Compendium Podcast.